We're being live streamed, so when you speak, please do press your button, and when you're not speaking, please do turn it off, okay, so that the public can hear you and other officers. Can I go through the agenda first, please? Apologies for absence.
We have Councillor Golding and Councillor Lovell.
Thank you very much. And we're assuming that Tahmina Saleem will be here in a moment. Okay, thank you. Published record of the meeting on the 4th of April. Can I sign that as a true record? Thank you very much. Remind members of Section 106, Local Government Finance Act, and also disclosures of interest. We have no business not covered by the current forward plan general exception, but we do have an item under item 4, special urgency. And I'm just going to move that. I presume all members have got the updated report that came round later. And it's to do with the stage and the development of the project board. The stage, as you know, is in its initial stages, and the project team has now been recruited. A strong project board is required to provide support, direction, scrutiny and governance, and to manage oversight of the £20 million Levelling Up Fund that we received. It is recommended that 3 elected members be appointed to sit on the board, and councillors Golding, Saleem and Taylor have been nominated. A shadow project board was established to work on the levelling up of the grant bid. Now that the bid has been successful, it is necessary to formalise the oversight arrangements by the establishment of a proper project board. Alongside that, the Luton Town Centre Strategic Board was initially funded by the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities as a pilot programme within the Partnerships for People and Place Fund. It is proposed that the board will have overall responsibility for establishing a new town centre delivery plan following the launch of the town centre master plan. In addition to the proposed appointment of Councillor Shaw Golding onto the board, it is intended that the Luton Town Centre Strategic Board will comprise of a range of senior stakeholders and partners who will be responsible for delivering elements of the project under their own governance and financing arrangements. Any decisions, of course, for LBC funding would come back to the executive for approval. So I therefore move the 5 recommendations there and ask the exec to support it. Thank you very much. Yes, David, did you want to speak? Sorry.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would like to. Thank you. The Bute Street car park project is probably the most important project in the town centre that the council has got itself involved with since the Arndale, just over 50 years ago. And you're proposing a project board that meets in secret, and as if that's not enough, you're suggesting that it reports its progress to the joint board, which also meets in secret. Frankly, it's not good enough, Hazel. You're also here talking about the Town Centre Strategic Board, which, looking at the proposed constitution of it in Appendix B, it doesn't have to report any progress to anybody at all, ever. Frankly, I think you can do better than this.
I think you're misrepresenting that, David, and obviously the reports of the Town Centre Board will come back here. What I was trying to emphasise was that any decisions regarding funding would definitely come back here. But obviously the board's put in place to make things happen as quickly as possible and manage the oversight. But we've got public people on it, so it's going to be in public, isn't it?
That's not what it says in the Constitution.
Well, will comprise of senior stakeholders and partners. So it'll be members of other organisations that will sit on the town centre board. It's not just the council.
No, I appreciate that, but it does say it's going to meet in secret.
I didn't say that there at all.
You use the word private, but it's the same thing.
Well, I'm moving the report. Do you want to say anything, Robert?
I'll bring Nicola in, but just to add, Chair, that if the project is ultimately delivered by Vauxhall Homes, there then will be reports that go through to the Luton shareholder group, which is obviously a wider body, much wider body than executive, on its way through to executive, and I'm sure that Nicola would like to add to that as well, if that's acceptable, Chair.
And David does sit on that.
So I think there's two lots of accountability with both boards going directly into central government as well. So actually, in terms of oversight and transparency around what's being discussed and the finances and reports and interventions in relation to both boards, they are in the public domain because they're going directly into central government, and DLUC has oversight and intervention in both.
Okay, I therefore move the report. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. I now move on to the references from other committees, and we do have a reference from OSB. It's to do with Article 4. David, is it okay to take that with the report later on? Thank you very much. And we now move on to there's no recommendations from scrutiny reviews, no petitions. So we now move on to item 8, which is the Luton 2040 6-monthly report. And as members will know, a 6-monthly report was agreed to be brought back on the progress of the Luton 2040. This progress is set within the reports, and there's a lot of information in the appendices that are attached, a lot of detailed information. I would recommend members, if they haven't had a chance to read through them, to certainly look through the detail. It was also agreed in 2020 that regular refreshes of the vision and corporate plan would take place following the delivery of our COVID-19 recovery plans. And it is proposed that the first refresh should take place to be completed by November 2022. The up-to-date list of system-wide Luton 2040 KPIs is for consideration and are concluded in Appendix I. The system-wide KPIs have been updated following the pandemic and to include new measures as set out in the government's Levelling Up White Paper. These changes include the addition of measures for adult obesity, NEAT, decent homes and VCS resilience. These measures will be approved once again as part of the vision as the vision gets refreshed. The minimum income standard model is created and was originally created by Joseph Round Foundation and has been adapted to factor in Luton housing costs. As set out in Appendix J, this model enables us to measure the number of households in poverty in Luton, as well as to model the potential impact of policy interventions by the council and its partners. I therefore move the 4 recommendations that are in the report and will do my best to answer any questions, but most of the answers are probably within the number of pages you have here, if you read them. Are there any questions, Tom?
You forget what number, isn't it? Social housing, it says 0 this year. That's completely wrong. You're taking the Foxhall social housing on the Foxhall side.
What's the reference you're referring to, Tom?
It's on the housing one. Put down 0 delivery in the next financial year.
Oh, yes, I did note that myself.
You've got Denham Close, Morris Close, you've got the Foxhall sites, and you've got the ones who are buying street properties as well. For some reason, none of them been included in it. Don't know why, but
The 0 social housing.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll take that and look at it again.
it's just wrong. Denham Close, the roofs are going on now, so
I'll take that back and have a look at it. Yeah. Anybody else? No? Okay, move the report. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. We then now move on to the Central Area Growth Board. The Central Area Growth Board is the 6 local authorities that are within the SEMLEP area. and that's Luton, Bedford, Central Beds, Milton Keynes, West Northamptonshire and North Northamptonshire, and also includes the local enterprise partnership. The group has been meeting for a number of years to progress the economic growth agenda for the area. As you know, we put a bid in last year for funding, which was not supported, but the 6 local authorities would like to continue to work together, and to this end have produced the terms of reference that you've got in front of you tonight, and standing orders, and we're asking each local authority to put them through their formal process to ratify. It is proposed that Milton Keynes has the role of accountable body for the Central Area Growth Board. The Growth Board is not legally constituted as a separate entity and as such cannot enter into contracts, hold funds or employ staff. Therefore, it is proposed that Milton Keynes Council will carry out this function. It is not proposed to set up a formal joint committee, so the Growth Board will have no formal decision-making powers. Nevertheless, it will carry out the tasks set out in the proposed terms of reference at Appendix A that's attached to your report, referring back to the constituent authorities for decision-making, as we've done in the past. The Executive is recommended to approve the terms of reference as set out in Appendix A. Has anybody got any questions?
Just a quick
Yes.
question. Were we not the accountable body for SEMLAC previously?
Yes, we still are.
Or we still are?
We
And
still
is there any reason why Milton Keynes is proposed?
No, I think we're quite comfortable that Milton Keynes are taking on. It's quite a workload that they're taking on. So when they offered, I think we bit their hand off, didn't we? Yes.
So there won't be any disadvantage moving forward of, right, okay.
No,
Thanks.
no, it's just a formal job they do, really. Yeah.
That's fine.
Is that agreed then? Thank you very much. Now move on to item 10, Corporate Parenting Board Terms of Reference. Tahmina?
Thank you. So as background for this proposal, part of the improvement work that has been completed within Children's Services following the Ofsted inspection in January 2020 was to review the terms of reference for the Corporate Parenting Board. And the revised terms of reference have been reviewed and updated according to the Children's Act 1989, the Working Together Document 2018, and the best practice identified within. And the review took place at the Care Leaver Service by the National Advisor for Care Leavers, Mark Riddle, and within the recommendations was a whole council approach to corporate parenting. There was also a recommendation for a champion in areas important to children in care and care leavers to be an ambassador and drive forward change to enhance the lives of the children in our care and the care leavers we are supporting. So what we're requesting is that the Executive approve the revised terms of reference for the Corporate Parenting Board attached to Appendix A to this report, and that the Executive authorises a Corporate Director, Children's Families and Education Services, following consultation with the Executive Leader and Portfolio Holder for Children's Service, Children's Health and Wellbeing, to make any minor amendment to the terms of reference as a result of recommendations arising from the Care Leavers review completed by Mark Riddle and the ILACS inspection. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tahmina. Are there any questions on the report? Yes, Javed.
Just a typo. So Appendix A on the Corporate Parenting Partnership Board, it still lists councillors as Mark Rivers.
Oh.
So Appendix A, that means amending.
Okay, can we get that amended? Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you. Anybody else? Happy to agree the report? Thank you. And the next report is over to Tom, and it's to do with the Climate Change Advisory Board.
Yes, Chair. I hope everyone can support this report. It'll mean by becoming a board, we'll have direct reports going off to the Executive. If you remember what we said 2 or 3 months ago, it was a bit of a waste of time if we didn't set objectives what were going to be hard to achieve, but we think we can achieve them. And you'll see in the report, we will be aiming for a 9% reduction each year in our carbon emissions. I think it's achievable. It's not going to be easy to achieve it, but we hope we will be able to achieve it. If we don't set ourselves a target somewhere, it'll just carry on for years. By going to the by reporting direct to the executive. It'll also cut out some of the administration we've had to do as a climate change working group. The first example was last week, where we wanted to put a lot more monitoring tubes around the town, especially in the Berry Park area. And we had to go to the working group to ask for £900. Probably cost more in officers' time and paperwork to write the report than what we were asking for. But if those tubes come back showing the results we expect, then we'd want to put a proper full-blown monitoring station somewhere in that area. That's going to cost at least £50,000. By being a board, we can start building up a budget for future years to get the 9% reduction we're looking for in carbon emissions across the town. So I hope everyone can accept it. Board report direct to the executive is a good move. It takes climate change up the agenda in the town, and it sets us some ambitious targets as well.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Are there any questions? Everybody happy to agree the terms of reference? Thank you very much. And we now move on to item 12 and the scale of charges. As members know, the council has a process for setting fees and charges. Those relating to this financial year 22-23 were approved by executive on the 17th of January. However, upon reviewing these charges, it became apparent that some fees relating to our bereavement services were not included in the earlier report. This report seeks to ensure that all relevant fees have been set in accordance with our democratic process and to ensure there is transparency in terms of cost for customers of the service. The fees which are proposed are set out in paragraph 6 of the report, and it is proposed that the fee for the assignment transfer of the deed of exclusive rights is set at £75. This is set at the same level that we have agreed for at least the past 6 years. We do not propose that the fee is increased. Proposals 2, 3 and 4, the fees for exhumation and dispatch of remains, relate to services that are provided for us by third-party suppliers, and therefore the cost to us can be subject to change. We therefore propose that these fees will be determined at the time of the request for that service. Although we are unable to provide a cost within our advertising literature, it is important that our customers are made aware that the service can be provided, and we are obliged by the Competitions and Markets Authority to include references to these services in our scale of charges. Proposal 5 relates to the private hire of our chapel for memorial services. The charges proposed for hire of the chapel mirrors a similar charge included in the scales of charges. However, we are conscious that many families were limited in the number of people able to attend a loved one's funeral at the Vale due to the COVID restrictions. For any of those families, it is proposed that we offer a much discounted rate should they wish to use the chapel for a memorial service of any kind. Executive are therefore recommended to approve these fees and to update the scale of charges accordingly. Are there any questions? Everyone okay with that? Thank you very much. And we now move on to item 13. Laser is a public sector energy buying group which operates an energy procurement framework through which Luton Council procures its gas and electricity to a total annual value of around 6 million. This framework has been used since 2012. The framework used is compliant under the Public Contracts Regulations 2015 and Inclusive Economy DMT, approved its use for 2020 to 2024. The contract in December 2018. However, the procurement team should have undertaken the renewal, and as such, the council's standing orders were not followed. We are now seeking post-event ratification for the purpose of administratively correcting an irregularity in the procurement process. And I'm hoping members will agree this. And if not, Roger is here if they've got any queries at all. Tom.
So we may extend the contract to 2024. We are looking for other forms of solar power, solar energy, the airport, doing solar panel farm if it gets its permission and everything. Do we pay the firm we use? And can that be altered at any time, or will be tied in to a certain amount till 2024?
Ratification of it.
So I couldn't hear you.
Sorry. Extension ratification of the existing contract, which does allow us flexibility in terms of adding or deleting demand. So the answer to your question is yes.
Reducing the amount we buy off them, yeah. That's happy with that as long as we can reduce it when we want to.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Are there any questions from anybody else? Are you happy to agree the ratification? Thank you very much. We now move on to item 14 and over to yourself, Rob.
Thank you, Chair. This is the purpose of this document is for the Executive to agree Luton Borough Council's continued participation in the Eastern Highways Alliance. The background about it is Luton has been a participant member of Eastern Highways Alliance since 2012. The Eastern Highways Alliance is a collection of highways authorities in the Eastern region. Membership enables Luton Borough Council to share information and innovation in the areas of highways, benchmark data, provided mutual support, and utilises the framework contract for delivery. The EHA requires each authority to sign up to its inter-authority agreement every 5 years to allow its participation in the EHA and the use of the latest framework contract for delivery of highway works. Luton Borough Council's legal services need to seal and sign the IAA for Luton's continual participation in the EHA, but need executive approval to do so. The document was supposed to be signed in 2020. So we're asking the executive to agree for the document to be signed by sealed in 2022. Unfortunately, it got sort of lost in the paperwork, shall we say? But it's had to come back executive for approval tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, Rob? Happy to agree? Thank you very much. We now move on to Rob again, Joint Local Access Forum.
Local Access Forum advises decision-making authorities such as local authorities about making improvements to public access for outdoor recreation and sustainable travel. Local access forums can set their own priorities depending on local issues. They also respond to consultations and draft policy documents. When making recommendations, the local authority, the LAF members need to consider land use as well as the need to conserve flora, and I think it's fauna, geological and physical features. A local access forum should have no fewer than 10 and no more than 22 members. The members should represent users of local rights of way, owners and occupiers of access land or land over which rights of way subsist, and any other interests especially relevant to the authority's area. A LAF must hold a minimum of 2 meetings a year. Meetings should be open to the public. A secretary should be appointed, and they should not be an LA member or a member of the LAF. 2 or 3 members should be local authority council members. The appointing authority shall meet any reasonable expenses incurred by any LAF or by the members of the LAF. They are considered to be travel and sustenance costs and expense of arranging the care of their children and dependents. Currently, Luton is a member of the Central Bedfordshire and Luton Joint Local Access Forum. It is proposed to leave the Joint Local Access Forum with Central Bedfordshire Council and create a Luton Local Access Forum which would concentrate the LAF on Luton's right of way and access to the surrounding countryside, better utilise the limited resources available for Luton residents and visitors by providing a focus on land use in the town, as well as improve awareness of the need to conserve flora, fauna, geological and physical features. Ensure that the LAF will inform Luton's policies and plans, for example, the development and maintenance of the forthcoming Luton Local Cycling and Walking Infrastructure Plan, for which the cooperation and involvement of local walking, cycling and riding interest groups and interested residents will be the key. Ensure that cross-boundary working with Central Bedfordshire will continue and be better enable work with North Herts District Council with regards to access to rights and way of matters. To ensure that the LAF is inclusive and represents the needs of the entire community and improving access, and help to ensure that Luton meets its climate change and carbon reduction targets for Luton 2040. A Luton focus will have a positive impact on biodiversity active travel and other environmental projects in the borough. We're asking approval tonight to leave the Central Bedfordshire Joint Local Access Forum and form our own local access forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Are there any questions on that? Everyone happy to go ahead and do that of our own? Thank you very much. Now I move you back to item 5.1 and the reference from Overview and Scrutiny Board. David, did you want to move it?
Not much to say, Chair, except that it's another unanimous decision of the Overview and Scrutiny Board to fully support your attempts to get this Article 4 direction to protect the employment uses of office blocks, and in particular because of some of the extremely, I don't even know, I haven't got language to describe the disgraceful conversions that have taken place already in parts of the town centre, where the government has decided that the owners don't need planning consent. Some of the flats in some of these buildings are a complete disgrace and ought not to be allowed. So yeah, OSB fully supports what you're doing and encourages you to seek opportunities to use the Article 4 direction in other parts of the town when appropriate.
Thank you very much, David. Would you like to incorporate this into your response back on the move of the report, Rob? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think everybody knows this report, but the purpose is to return to the Executive and provide an update on the consultation undertaken for the new Article 4 directions that were made on the 16th of February 2022 at Butterfield Business and Technology Park and Capability Green Business Park, to consider and agree responses to representations received during the consultation on the making of new Article 4 directions, to confirm the non-immediate Article 4 directions for Butterfield Green and Capability Green. Attached at appendices A and B to remove the ability to convert commercial business and service uses to residential use C3 to become into effect on the 1st of August 2022. To delegate authority to Service Director Sustainable Development to implement this decision. The report starts on page 323 and page 329 PDF of the agenda pack. The report was considered by the Overview and Scrutiny Board on 11th April 2022, where the recommendations made were welcomed and supported. To protect the high quality employment spaces in Butterfield and Capability Green, which play an important economic and sub-regional role, it is necessary to update the existing Article 4 directions at these locations, which will expire after 31st of July 2022. Public consultation on new Article 4 directions took place between the 17th of February and 25th of March, rather than 17th of March to 25th of March 2022, incorrectly stated in the report. The Council received 3 representations, one from the owner-occupier of a property within Butterfield Green, one from Historic England and one from a private individual. 2 responses were neutral and 1 objected. A summary of the representations and a council response can be found at paragraphs 10 to 16 of the report. It is proposed that the new Article 4 directions at Butterfield Green and Capability Green that were made on 16th February 2022 are confirmed to come into effect on the 1st of August 2022, when the existing Article 4 directions expire. The implementation of these proposed article directions will carry a compensation risk, as they will be implemented within 12 months of the notice being made to withdraw permitted development rights. The triggers and potential consequences of a compensation orders are outlined in paragraph 19 to 21 of the report. Following the publication of Agenda Pack, the Council received notification from the Secretary of State that they will assess the Article 4 directions against policy requirements. The Secretary of State can cancel or modify any Article 4 direction at any point, and the Council's position is therefore unaffected. The role of the Secretary of State is explained in more detail in paragraph 19 and 21 of the report. I'd now like to go on and just answer in relation to the ongoing Article 4 directions, resources and timescales. In terms of the resources and timescales for implementing the Article 4 directions in relation to Class MA for the town centre, the planning policy team do not envisage any issues with resources for this, as the Article 4 direction for the location is a high priority for them. The planning policy team intends to return to the Executive on the 27th of June 2022 for making of the Article 4 direction for the town centre. The team are also looking at potentially making the direction for the town centre with immediate effect, although they are seeking further advice on this in light of the risk of potential compensation claims. The decision was made to make the direction with none immediate effect for this location was confirmed in 2019 and came to effect in 2020. This was due to the risk of potential compensation claims. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. Are there any questions? Tom?
I support what David and Rob have said. We're in a ridiculous situation where we can identify properties aren't suitable for moving people. On conversions, they get converted by people out to make money out of it. When we say no, we're not putting our own people in there. It affects people in from so far in the town centre. You've got Watford, Tower Hamlets, Milton Keynes, Newham, all got people in office blocks in the town centre where we said no to. So the quicker we can get control of the town centre, at least we can stop them kind of conversions. You know, I'm not going to say where it is because people know, but one council moved people into a block that had no fire certificate on it. And we had to phone them up and remind them the block had no fire certificate. And they moved the people out again quickly. 3 weeks later, the person got his fire certificate off our building control, and that council filled the block again. It's getting now, there's not a lot of good office blocks around what are in private individuals' pockets. If we were going to do them, I'd rather we did them up to a standard where we could put our people in. You know, we all know, I'll say the one, Wesley House, how much money we've had to spend getting Wesley House lifts going, getting the doors working right and everything else. But all that was a conversion on a permitted development by an investor, what we're fighting in court elsewhere in the town now. So the quicker we can get that Article 4 in Luton, the better it'll be for the town and for the housing applicants, what we've got to put into emergency accommodation, because at least if it goes through building control and planning, we know they're going to be of a decent standard. But what we've got at the moment in the town, you know, how many more times can housing say, they're not good enough, we're not putting people in there, and they just pick up the phones to all the councils, and the other council got so much pressure on them that they take them and put people in. It's wrong, and the only way we can stop it is with an Article 4 direction on all the town centre, going out as far as top of Cardiff Road. So Cardiff Grove and the little offices blocks around there are all taken into account in it.
Okay, Rob, do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to reassure the executive that myself and the officers do see this as a real high priority. To a point, we would be having regular conversations to make sure we're on track, and we don't need any support or extra resources to make sure we keep it on track, really. Just to want to reassure the executive, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Any other questions, comments? Happy to agree the report? Great, thank you. We now move on to item 17, and over to you, Javed.
Thank you, Chair. So I wish to move item 17. The executive is recommended to approve the draft adult social care strategy 2021 to 26 as appendix 1 to the report, which communicates the legislative and policy changes for the sector in the years ahead. Note, this is a live document, and as further guidance is published and legislation completes its passage through Parliament, the document will be updated and a report will be provided annually, taking into account all the changes that are coming our way legally. And the latest acts that have affected us having to do this is the Health and Care Act 2021, Mental Health Act 1983, Mental Capacity Act Amendment Act 2019, and the recent changes to the Domestic Abuse Act 2021. So I move this report.
Thank you, Javed. Any questions from anybody? No, happy to agree the report. Thank you very much. Before we move, I move the regulation for moving into private. I'd just like to thank Andy Malcolm for his years of service as our finance portfolio. I believe this is your last executive. Yeah, and so I just want to say thank you on behalf of the whole council, Andy, and councils that you've served over the last few years, and wish you all the well and the best for the future. Thank you. I now like to move the regulation to go into private. We have one